I'm just using the new receding buddy for women who want to leave their hair out on partial leave outs or leave outs at the crown, but they have receding hairline and it's just not working out for them. The normal leave out buddy is not working out for them because it still kind of flaps. So this one has tapered edges. Here at the front it's tapered. That way they could sew the hair on and it won't flap. Okay? We are going to be attaching the receding buddy to an example of someone who wants to have her hair out at the crown, whether it be partial, which is just a little bit, or whether it be the full crown, which in that case the braid pattern would be eliminating this one, and this one, these three. Okay, so it's either, and that is how the leave out buddy is for, crown leave out. The difference between the leave out buddy and this new one that I'm calling the receding line, the receding buddy, is that the front is tapered, because sometimes people just don't have enough hair in the front to braid, or if there is hair, it's real fine and it's real delicate and tender, so you shouldn't sew on it. So now the receding buddy takes care of that because it tapers here and it doesn't go all the way straight where, just that would just flop if there's no hair here to attach it to, or if the hair is so fine and you don't want to attach it to that braid up there in the front. So this is the receding buddy, which it just means that I tapered the edges. So I say partial because some people just want to leave a little bit of hair out here in the front, but they still want a closure, okay? And some people, the other choice would be, if you have receding here and you don't want to wear a closure, that would be the two choices for the receding buddy. Making sure that the curve goes around the ear, and make sure that both sides are even, that it's on evenly, and that you are going to get the coverage that you need for the front, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and tie the strands here in the front. So you will lift this up, make sure this is nice and even. Right, it's a little easier on a human. I add pins on my braid patterns, so sometimes the pins get stuck a little. And let's get to work, ladies. So I'd like to close that slit right there and begin attaching the weave buddy to the braids underneath. But I want to get this closed, this slit closed, so that it could start forming the weave buddy onto the shape of the customer's scalp. I'm not going to go too far in because what you do to one side, you want to do to the other side to keep it balanced. So I'm going to stop right here. And then do the other side going that way. Grab the needle and thread, attach it onto the other side. As you're going down, close the slits. The slits are the little spaces that are open back here. And since that side's already done, I'm going to continue going down just a little bit further down. Closing the slit. And attaching onto this braid, the very last, the edge of the weave buddy, okay? And then we're going to come back and get a little bit more here. But first we always start from the edge because that's what shapes the weave buddy onto the scalp, starting at the back. Since I'm getting kind of close to the front, I don't want to risk it, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I slip in my protective paddle so that my needle doesn't accidentally poke the scalp. And since I'm running out of thread, I'm going to go ahead and close it up and start a new needle. These are supposed to simulate hair, guys, okay? Work with me. And do the same thing on this side. The only time I put my needle through the little squares is when I grab a corner, but other than that, I go from the outside through the big holes, okay? You don't have to put your needle through every single small hole. So if your needle doesn't go through, just put it where it does go through. You don't have to sit there and stress about, oh, it's not going through this little hole. You know, if it doesn't, just find another spot where it will go through. See how it just starts forming onto the scalp? I love that. And then you can kind of go back up and grab it around here so it could be double. Making sure that we kind of go up here and attach some of it right around here too, okay? Okay, so I think we're good here. I'm gonna go ahead and also attach the band onto the bottom layer of her hair. This band is attached to the wee buddy. So I'm just making sure the band stays attached to the hair. This unit is on there fitting like a glove. Some people like to sew this lace on that braid too. That's absolutely fine. Extra support. But whatever you feel is gonna keep it nice and secure, because if you only do a couple little points, what ends up happening is that the customer feels the strain and the stress on her own natural hair. So you can't just do 1 point, 1 point, and 1 point and think it's on. Okay? It does take some time, but you know what? We're worth our keep, right? We're stylists, we're professional, and we are worth our keep. So, you know, you have to charge for your time. Hopefully, you know, you'll get used to it and it won't take you too long to attach it. But don't skip steps because you want to save time. You got to make sure that this is on properly and firmly, and that the customer does not feel any type of stress, okay? So we're gonna do this part here, and then I'll be ready for the front. I wanna make sure it's already attached, but I wanna make sure that it's extra attached so that the customer feels nothing but comfortability. Usually the whole hairline does not get sewn at all in the front, but with leave outs, it does. These corners here do have to be attached so that they can stay in place, okay? So you do have to attach these corners. So I'm gonna go ahead and just attach just the corners. Just the corners. Because those corners, if they're not attached, will lift up. So that has to be attached. But before, the leave-out buddy was straight, so there wasn't any hair there to attach it, and that was causing a little bit of a problem for people who have receding and didn't have the hair there to be able to attach that corner. So now we're able to attach this little corner. Everything else, a little bit of making this lace, kind of tugging on this lace, if you may, to make it more fitted. See that? I'm taking that lace and turn it this way. Kind of bringing it, tugging it. That will definitely okay. And if it's a rule of thumb, size 20 circumference is a size small. 21 circumference is a size regular. So we're starting to get to the point where everything is nice and tucked. I want to tuck this side the way I tuck that side. And I always start my needles behind, not in the front. It's just a little habit I have so that if in case it does unravel, it doesn't unravel at the very front. So then we'll go ahead and tuck this lace. Now, if you want to use the lace, some people like to use it for, see, this is my version of gluing it because I don't like to glue. So I just tuck the lace so that it could be tighter there. But some people just like to glue those little edges there gently, not on the skin and not obviously on top of any hair, which I have seen some fabulous work like that before. I personally don't use glue unless it's someone who has 70 to 100% hair balding and hair loss. Okay, so now we're at the point, it's all flat. We want to take the very front elastic bands and then take them to the back and tie it in the back. Give me the band. Tie it, and what this is going to do, see the difference between, see how that is? Watch this, when we tie it and sew it on, it does that. Keeps it in place better. Okay, so that's always important that you don't forget that part. Okay? Do not forget that part. It's very important. more waves here. Some people call me and they tell me that their stylist tied this too tight, and so be careful with that. Don't tie this too tight. That's just as you sew that on, you tie it so that you could sew it, but be real careful. Your customers, they feel things, you know. They feel everything, and nowadays there's no need to do no pain, no gain. Those days are over. So now what I'm doing is just attaching that band onto the edges here of the Wee Buddy. Remember I told you, you don't have to go through every single little hole. Go through the bigger holes. Save yourself some trouble and headache. Some people sit there and try to go through all the little holes. No, thank you, ma'am. That's why it takes too long. What you do have to do is to make sure that it is attached thoroughly, but you just don't have to, use all of the little holes, that's all. Okay, I guess she is gone. All right, so now this side, be careful not to, if their own hair is going to be out, just make sure that you don't accidentally, grab onto their hair, because then that's going to pull. Use your protective paddle. To make sure it does not catch on to their hair. Almost done, ladies. Now, I don't save the elastics, but if you save the elastic, you go ahead and take this bow, undo it, because or else you don't want that knot to hurt them, right? So you just take the elastic and sew it in to their tracks, but I remove the elastic because I'm not trying to do all that. And now it's ready to add hair. This one is for partial leave out, so you can add your closure. So let's remove some of this lace here. You don't want this lace. And so we want to leave a little bit of that lace out there for when you're doing the sewing, but you want to make sure that you do remove this top part. You can't leave the lace if you have leave out, right? So you just want to look at it and measure. Make sure that both sides are going to be even here. Let's get that needle in there first. Let's do this again. I always tell my students to use their clips I'm sitting here trying to do everything without my clips. Let's do this again. Get that needle in there. First, always get that needle attached before you, and I'm not attaching it underneath. I'm just attaching it onto the Weave Buddy. So here we go. Sometimes you have to pick up the piece just to see where you're sewing. It's okay. Pick it up. Like you're gonna be sitting there working in the dark. Pick it up, lift it a little. I mean, if you can't see. Okay. Of course, I'm using black thread because I wanted you guys to see my stitching. But, you know, use brown. Use brown or whatever color the hair is. That's the color that you want on the root area. If her hair is blonde at the ends, but her root is brown, you're going to use brown, okay? You're not going to use blonde. But you're not going to use black if the hair is this light. If it was a couple shades darker, yeah. But, so you guys remember, this, you're probably, someone who's jumping in now is probably thinking, that looks awfully bald. Now, this is for leave out. So there's hair here. There's going to be hair here. Okay, this is a partial leave out so that we can add some hair here, but she's got her own hair here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get it attached on the other side as well. This is for a partial leave out, so her hair technically is out here, okay? I want you guys to see what I'm doing. Let's get that needle in there. Oh, I think I forgot to have the protective paddle, didn't I, on the other side? I'm sorry, guys. Ugh. If I had a nickel for every time I forgot, I'd have a lot of nickels. Okay, so it's getting that needle on there real good. Then we're going to go ahead and grab this puppet and secure it. Sometimes if you pull too tight, you're going to tear that lace, so be careful. You know how that is. Any of you who work with lace units, you know that you gotta be real careful. Sometimes I just use the lace on the Weave Buddy. If there's if the grid is not there, just use the lace. Before I continue, let me make sure that other side is not being tugged. So if you do to one side, you do to the other, making sure that they're nice and flat and they are being laid properly. So again, remember, this is a partial leave out. So some people, they like their own hair out right here, but they're not trying to leave the whole crown out. When you are sewing in the tracks, you just bring this hair down as you're sewing the tracks and then just follow the pattern of the braid, okay? You feel me? So now this is on nicely. See that? See how nice and firm that is? And her own hair would be out here covering even more. And then you just start adding the layers of your hair. When you get to this area here, make sure that you bring this down, and as you're adding the wefts, add the weft on top of each layer until you get to this point. Okay? I'm tired now, so I'm going to do that another time. But yeah, that's basically how the tapered, which is technically called the receding buddy, is about. Okay? And then get this lace and just kind of, tuck it so it could be nice and firm if you're not going to glue it down. All right, so if you're not going to glue down these little corner spots right here, then you're going to be tucking them. Okay? All right, guys. Peace and love, my friends. I hope this was helpful.